Alright, let's talk about Party C real quick. So, the sorts of enemies that Party C will come across are largely physical attackers, which deal with Great Confusion and Petrify attacks. There are a couple of other minor debuffs, like there's a magic down debuff in the set, and there may well be days and stuff like that in here as well, but it's largely just restricted to those two major status. Which is good, because Sanai already has to be in Party B, and she can't be in two parties at the same time. So being able to just use a couple of accessories and other pieces of gear to defend against these attacks is obviously pretty critical. So the party is in Yomu and Yuko's Falling Cherry Blossom theme, formation here. So it unfortunately means that Reimu doesn't get magic attack, but Byakuren is a bit too fragile to go at the front even with her 20% Divine Barrier, and Reimu just has a lot more HP, there's a lot more defense involved. Magic defense is probably not as good because of that Divine Barrier, and, you know, Magic Evade on Byakuren's armor, but I think it should be okay that way, and Reimu can take a fair amount of hits here. I mean, she also does have some elemental resistances that we shall get into soon. But the attack defense up is good, obviously Patchouli getting magic is nice. Byakuren will be attacking a fair bit in this formation as well, so it's nice to have Byakuren in the back too. So, looking at the equipment stuff, I did not actually realize at first that Reimu's tier 5 weapon has restrict resistance to it. Like, I geared her up initially to have resistance to that, and that, you know, kind of didn't make sense, so we had to switch stuff out. But yeah, restrict involves confusion as well, so there'll be some confusion resistance here. Her natural resistance is not as high as it usually is at the moment, but it's okay because she does have this and Petrify resistance, and her growth tree stuff will give her higher recovery rates, so that should be fine. The Yokai shield is the second best physical shield for the mid-tier class that I have right now. The best one is on Byakuren. So really kind of gearing towards physical stuff here. I probably could try and gear a bit more towards magic defense on Reimu, but most of the enemies here will be doing physical attacks, so it makes more sense to run a physical shield here than a magic one. Speaking on defense stuff, we also do have the Dragon Mail for some minor elemental resistances. Mystic unfortunately is not one of them, which would be awesome because Mystic is one of the few elemental attacks we see here that, you know, I'm likely to come across. But it's okay because the Mystic attacks are generally not too powerful. And they're not like Flare or Meteor or any random crap like that. They're weaker level stuff, so more on the debuff kind of side. It's neat. So it's perfectly fine to just have the core element resistances here. Then we have two masteries for the two major types of physical attack we will come across. That's not to say that Slash is non-existent, it's just that Strike and Stab are more important here. So, yeah, having that. Also, the Sword Mastery was kind of already used on somebody else, so unfortunately couldn't use it for here as well. That's what happens when you can't interchange gears in the middle of the run. So then we have Patchouli, who's just using the Eraser engine like before. MP cost down is quite nice. The Philosopher's Robe is the best physical defense lightweight armor that I have just now, although it's not necessarily the most useful of them here. The major reason I'm using it is because it is the best defense that I have, but the Sky Robe would be better for its resistance, because it has restrict resistance on it, right? So that's obviously more useful than mind control resistance here, but it would take Patchouli to less than 100 defense in a physically oriented area. She's already vulnerable enough as it is because she can't use the shield. I don't want to have her take even more that way. So yeah, Patchouli might fall down quite a bit in this place, that's what I'm trying to say. She does have more HP though, so 267 is okay for Patchouli. And she has Confusion, just about immunity, and Disable Resistance here. So this is where her Petrify res comes in, and it should be okay. I don't think there are very many light attacks that she could come across, so that weakness to light shouldn't really matter here. Light is not a common element to fight outside of the angel demon things, so, and I guess some of the standard magician enemies have it, but whatever. A lot of the enemies are physical in this place, so Mokou is good in this area because she has physical deflect and blindness on her glove here. That blindness is super good, actually. It does trigger fairly often. Even though I don't have a lot of induction, it still seems to work quite a bit. And obviously physical deflect against physical attacks is pretty good. I think she can still counter-attack if she deflects a move, so that's kind of cool. The Hydra Shield is one of the best physical shields I have left, or shields in general really, for heavyweight. Since every character that is a heavyweight, all 4 of them can use a shield at this point, so kinda have to balance things a bit more there, and this is the way that I've done it. The poison immunity most likely won't matter, because I don't think poison is a thing in this area, but if it is, well, then this shield would be good for that. When the more I think about it, the more Never Fail Armor makes sense for this place, because there are a couple of stab enemies in this team's future. So having stab resistance is good. Mokou has natural strike resistance, which does help as well, and you can see her physical defense is really solid, so physical attack's not going to do quite so much here. The accessories have gone over a couple of revisions here. Like I said in Team B's preview, the Cute Soul is mandatory for Mokou because she needs bombs for so many of her skills, and she only has the 8 bombs to work with. One of the bombs that she did have from her growth tree stuff has had to be used in another thing so that she could have better stats overall. And yeah, that means she was down to just 5, and 5 Mokou attacks, not really good. You want more than 5, so yeah. She actually does need headshot goggles for this, believe it or not. A couple of the enemies on this route have extortionate defense stats, or not even defense, evasion stats, well over 100, and that's not good. Really, that means even with 166 accuracy that she had before, Mokou still misses most of the time on an enemy that has like 120 evade or something. I think that's the one that I saw before. Ridiculous amounts of evasion. This might mitigate a little bit. Byakuran should also be able to help out, as we'll see later. But this is where the not even paralysis. It's there, but it's not necessary. The petrification and confusion resistance for Mokou come specifically from the ribbon. This also does mitigate the water weakness. I don't think that matters, but hooray, it's there anyway, so that's good. Byakuran, final member hero, she's still using that tier 4 scroll because it's exclusively used for defense. She doesn't really attack physically, and it has enough magic attack where it doesn't bother me too much anyway. Like I said before, she has the best physical resistance shield that I have, and it actually has natural res as well, which is good because one of the major attacks here does actually petrify, and it's physical, so you know, having extra resistance on there is quite good. But having said that, Byakuran is naturally good with both magic based petrify attacks and every other petrify really, because she's got resistance to it on her armor, but for magic based ones she can dodge them 15% of the time, which is quite fun. Just in case with a confusion though, because confusion doesn't have a resistance on here at the moment, she does have the restrict resist of the Tobikura over here. And then there are some variety status, some debuffs that will be afflicted, so I do have this. This is kind of vestigial. I initially had the lucky shoes here, you know, party experience plus 3%, because I haven't been lucky enough to get a a drop for of the Yukuris to give one character more experience. That's what they tend to drop. But I have managed to get this, so against the debuffing attacks this should be pretty good. And then because Byakuren will actually be doing some attacking here, and she has spare slots unlike Patchouli, the Bracelet of Insight is going to go on her instead. So now she can have more magic attack to do her light elemental skills, which is good for the area, as I've said before. So, growth-wise, we do need max AoE heals on, or max barrier on Reimu, because AoE healing is necessary. Reimu basically acts as your third healer here. If you haven't already got an area heal on Satori, well, what are you doing going into this place? But, you know, basically the three of them separated work as your party healers, and it's rather important to have that. The needle damage does help as well, because the needle is a small AoE, which is quite good, so it's nice to have that around. Non-spell cooldown still as important as ever for her attacking skills, and I kinda had to take a few points out of Exorcism so that I could get 7 points into Concentration, because this way I can give Reimu more HP, and the MP is quite nice as well. The magic attack cost is pretty heavy, I'm not gonna lie, but I still have the MP cost down, which is important. I haven't lost any MP by removing stuff off of this tree, and I get more MP out of it from here. And the HP is really good because Reimu is in the front lines. She does need to take more damage than normal, so yeah, I think this is a decent enough setup. Really, Reimu's kind of a difficult one to specify growth tree stuff for, because you want all four of her trees really. You want the cooldown and the damage up for Spirit Sign stuff here for offense. You want the MP cost down and the enemy defense resistance down for, you know, spell stuff. You really want the barrier things if you want to do healing, or if you want to do any sort of team support with Reimu, and obviously concentration would be great because you need to max this if you want to get any, you know, like 2 bombs out of the tree. So it's tough to really deal with Reimu's growth tree stuff. She never gets enough points to fill all the stuff you wanted to do, which is a shame. Anyway, Patchouli, much the same as normal. I could run the magic absorption stuff here, but it's a skill and I don't have space for it, so nuts to that is what I say. Otherwise, just lots and lots of MP. Obviously magic attack is pretty good from here as well, and non-card damage up, just getting critical damage off of magic, everything the usual stuff that Patchouli has right now. It's pretty good. Moko's the big change here, because I've actually maxed out her rebel tree at this point, because cooldowns and stuff, it's pretty good. So physical skill cooldown is nice already. That was something I didn't really have before, because I only put 10 points into this tree if I remember rightly. So what the physical skill cooldown should let me do is it should let me cast Fujiyama Volcano every turn if I really wanted to. But it also just generally cuts down the wait time for her spell card stuff, which could be good in, you know, longer fights. Really, I would be able to just do stuff quicker. Still not using Soulfinger here, there's not really a reason for me to do so yet. It's a decent skill, but I don't have the space for it, like point-wise, because I do still want some physical attack here. Kinda couldn't get the induction up, which is a bit of a shame, but Mokou seems to do enough blindness and everything as it is, so it doesn't matter too much. Like, her attacks do so good in terms of status inflicting, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I gave up 20 physical attack off of this thing so that I could get the cooldowns and the MP cost down, which is good because then Mokou can actually do more attacks. And longevity is kind of a concern when you only have 4 characters, right? So there's a definite benefit to having skill down, like cost down here. And then I have 1 point left, so 10% extra HP actually does do quite a bit for Mokou at this point. It's about 33 or so HP. It's a lot, so this 1 point gives a ton of stats, which is so good for tanking, and that's what Mokou does best. So yeah, Horai Tree is good, it's just difficult to actually find space for when you have Rebel and stuff. This will probably be like one of the next trees I work on, really. And then Byakuran, I don't actually need Amplifying Scroll right now, so I'm just sticking with 20 points here for the auto heal. I do like the auto heal. It's not necessary, and I could cut it down to get more points elsewhere, but I like the auto heal. It's good, so that's what I'm going to use. I've cut the casting down to 10 points instead of the 16 because I don't need 2 extra bombs. Don't really need 1 extra bomb either, but it's just part of the thing. I wanted the spell card cooldown because I am actually using a spell card now, Shock Horror. So yeah, I don't actually know if it's gonna matter because that spell card's cooldown is ridiculous. But since I can't get 25 points into here to max it out, I figured I would just go with that. Still got the extra thing off of support magic here. This is largely for the extra bomb as well as the strength up here. Like, the duration stuff is good. Being able to overwrite your buff durations is probably not that important during a standard thing here, like a regular mission, if you will. It's good for bosses, but these fights probably won't last long enough for that to matter. But it's, you know, a bit easier getting an extra bomb out of this tree than it is out of casting. So yeah, it sort of works out. It's, again, not super necessary, but I am using a spell card, so I may as well have an extra bomb. Plus, I didn't really have enough points to go any further with this tree, unfortunately, because I wanted the extra power. I didn't really need it, but I wanted 25% extra MP, because that is a pretty solid trait to have. And the catch is, if I wanted to raise support magic here, that needs 3 ability points, whereas I would have to take then 2 skills out of Great Magic. Not prepared to do that. I do still want the casting speed up, because then I can buff, say, Patchouli before she does a spell card or something. And so I'm unwilling to take points out of here. I don't really want to lose a bomb by taking stuff out of support magic, and obviously I'd be wanting to raise support magic, ideally. But I'm unwilling to take out the casting, and taking out a Great Magic would take too many points out. Plus, Byakuran is attacking at this point, so magic attack plus 20 is actually pretty solid. So yeah. So let's take a fine look at the skill stuff. Aether Spray probably isn't the most useful of skills to have around, let's be realistic here. But I don't really know what else I would have. Maybe Sealing Needle, I guess? I don't know, it's kind of a bit weird at this point. Like, maybe even a Ofuda of Dispelling would be okay, because of debuffs and stuff. But yeah, I think Sealing Needle would probably be the best bet. Otherwise, like, the problem with Aether Spray is that it takes a turn, right? You really don't want to be having skills that do that too often with stuff. When you are doing what's supposed to be shorter battles by, you know, not boss standards. So Aether Spray, yeah, it takes a lot of MP to do not really very much. But however, skills are pretty good here. Obviously, Hakurai Amulet, Yokai Buster's a column attack, so if I can't get as many hits off of the Hakurai Needle, sometimes Yokai Buster is better. Fantasy Amulet would honestly be okay here as well, but I think it's a bit too weak at this point. The Azure Dragon Circle is my barrier of choice, because there are some nice breath attacks that you can reflect at this point. Not really going to be using it very often, of course, because I only have 5 bombs, but it's a choice, and it's potentially there. The Aura Jewel would actually be okay as well at this point, because that does heal a ton of HP, and that, you know, by itself is quite nice. But I reckon the Ofuda should be enough. If it does start becoming a problem, then of course I can just switch Sealing Needle out for it, because that's kind of superfluous. But I don't think it will, so that's why we're not going with it just now. Of course, Needle's getting buffed by the barrier tree, so that's quite nice, and that's really all that Reimu can say for herself. So, I did mention before that light is quite an important attack type here as a whole, because a lot of enemies are weak to it, so Patchouli's spell card of choice is going to be Royal Flare for, you know, light damage, obviously. Instead of using something like Thunderstorm, because Thunder Lightning stuff is also a good weakness to have around here. There's a few enemies that are weak to Lightning. There's 1 or 2 enemies that are weak to Fire and Water, but not really enough to justify a single target move, because they tend to show up in multiples. So we're going to have the AoE ones here. Unfortunately can't use these every turn, but I can use them every second turn, and some enemies are weak to both Fire and Water, so they're weirdos, I know, but yeah, you can kind of use them alternating fashion, and it works quite well. Then Diamond Cutter, I do still want some Earth here. I don't remember if Earth is a weakness for anything or not. If I find out it's not, then I'll just switch this, but I do like having one of every element possible if I can during stages, because then I don't get caught out by something that's resistant to like every attack I got except the obscure one, you know, Earth being pretty obscure as far as weaknesses go for most stuff. So yeah. Mokou, same old, same old. I don't really need Zufu's Dimension here, so I put Face Punch instead of it. Otherwise, it's exactly the same stuff that Mokou always uses. There's not really any need to explain anything there. Byakuren, on the other hand, a little bit more interesting. Elemental Weapon is in case I want to give Mokou a weakness explicitly, because Fire, Water, Electric are definite weaknesses that I can give. And that would even change Fujiyama Volcano if I was to use that. It's kind of fun that way, actually. We might be abusing that at some stage later on in the game. But yeah, it's probably the most expendable of the things here, but there is one enemy in particular that's weak to fire, water, but immune to physical. That's kind of stupid, so it's logical for that. I think I could get rid of it really, and I probably will if I want to have like a little dark heal or something. Probably light heal would be better really, but one of the 2 healing spells might be nice just to supplement Reimu, because she should be attacking more often. But you know, I said Byakuren can attack too, and Starfire, even though it says it's low damage, Byakuren's relatively powerful. Like, this is stronger than it gives itself credit for, and the fact that it can cut magic defense just makes Patchouli even better, and of course Reimu as well. So that works out quite nicely. There are some enemies which have got crazy evade, as I mentioned before, so I have never failed just to raise accuracy on Mokou, and then basic spell and weapon bless, you know, the usual stuff that way. Star Maelstrom is the unique skill here. So you don't really use these too often, but because there are a lot of enemies that are weak to light here, this is a cool skill to have around. Sort of a finishing blow type thing. It works similarly to Royal Flare, just it's a bit more cumbersome. You know, takes a little bit more MP, doesn't do quite as much damage, takes longer to recover, but it can inflict instant death, which is fun. I don't think Byakuren's induction is nearly enough to do it, but it can, and therefore it might at some stage, and it'll be fun. So yeah, that is Group 3, Party 3 here, burning the world with their light of justice. So before you go anywhere with Team C, this box in the corner, you can just about see it, there is the Adamantite Shard for Team C. Pretty interesting that it's at the very start of their area, but oh well. Team C also starts underwater, so that's pretty neat. And they have a lot of boxes right from the word go, so gold in that box if you want it, which is pretty cool if I say so myself. And oh, they actually also have the control enemies, huh. So, let's talk about some of the enemies we have here. We have, of course, the Will-O-Wisp we've seen before. We have Super Slime, that is immune to pretty much all physical attacks, and can use Psycho something. I think it's... We'll see it as it goes. It's a multi-target Mystic move that cuts magic attack and defense down. Then the Minotaur is really good at doing physical attacks, as you'd expect, but it is weak to light, so that is something that we shall take advantage of here. And I don't know what I want to hit with though. It's the problem, because Yokai Buster only hits the slimes, but the Minotaur is only... I mean, I don't think this is weak to light at all, but whatever. So you see Mach Punch only takes 6 MP now, so that's pretty good. The slimes are weak to fire and water, as I think I made a reference to in the preview thing, so there is that. And I think I want to go ahead and buff Patchouli here. So yeah, we get Blindness off, that's what I really wanted off the Mach Punch there. And yeah. Oh, right, I forgot about that. Ouch. Yeah, the dudes here, Will-O-Wisp actually reflects magic. I completely forgot about that. Oops. Sorry, Patchouli. Alright, so I guess we have to kind of take alternative measures to taking them out then, with Flying Phoenix as a fire-based move, so that should be fine. And I guess I'll go ahead and Weapon Bless Mokou here as well, huh? Oh, don't kill Reimu before she heals, that could end up like completely destroying this fight. Oh wow! Okay, we also got a gear piece too, that's awesome. So I think I need to put Aura Jewel on Reimu, that heal is really not that good. Also I can't heal the back row of this. This is not the best formation for healing stuff. I might change it in the end, because yeah, that's not too effective. So, I don't know what synthesis material that is, but it is pretty cool to have nonetheless, so I'm gonna Starfire the slime group. There we go. And then the Minotaur is still blinded, so that is cool. Yeah, Patchouli doesn't do so good when magic reflecting enemies are around, and she just kind of one-shots herself. That was pretty bad. Anyway, Mokou gets a level, it's pretty good, so does Byakuren, and it's the Rusty Blade. Oh, beautiful! Having Yomu equipment is nice. Alright, so that is what we have picked up. We've already done this fight, but I think the slime does drop something I want, so screw it, we're gonna do it again anyway, because we can. Aw, man. I'm actually gonna Element Weapon Mokou here, so that she can hit the slimes as well, because that would be kind of important. The Blindness is pretty good against the slimes as well, actually. Psycho Blast, that's what it's called. Yeah, it's good against the slimes too, because the slimes do use digest and stuff, which is physical. So yeah, you can do very well with that there, just by having Blindness on everything. And yeah, I definitely need to have an extra heal here. I don't think Reimu's healing is going to be enough in the long run. Because yeah, you see, it only gets the front two, and Patchouli and Byakuren would have to be healed separate. So Byakuren, I think, needs to have Dark Heal. Dark Heal being column based, I could heal the back row with that. It isn't particularly beneficial otherwise though. Like, it kind of goes against Reimu, but I need that if I'm going to keep this formation. I might experiment with a different one, like the Shikigami formation or something, and see if that works better. There's nothing up there whatsoever, so don't bother going there, it's just a weird spot, and you can't go any further beyond that way, so we just have to kind of go here and just double check. There's nothing down there, that's fine. This is a room that we have already been in on the passage before, but yeah. Also, there are enemies here which we can't really see, and that's kind of obnoxious, but whatever. So, the enemy hero, Pan, has the Great Confusion attack, Singing Voice, as we've seen from previous enemies before. It's weak to light. I don't remember if it's weak to anything else, but I'm going to try electric just because I can, and we shall enhance Patchouli. Wow, that was a very focused Mach Punch for once. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Singing Voice, that's not electric, but Patchouli does a ton of damage at this point, especially with Byakuran's buffing. Like, Byakuran's buffs are very, very strong. Do not ever underestimate them. They're much better than Patchouli's. That's not Patchouli. Well, Patchouli doesn't have any buffs, obviously. They're better than Sana's, so you know that by itself is worth using her. And even with only 11 induction, but Mokou is just so good at causing status conditions with her gloves and everything. It's really fun. Anyway, we go down across that bit, we can actually get a box in here, which has an Art of War, quite nice. And we can go through here if we so choose, but there was a box over this way, so we've got to get the box first. And that gets us Byakuran's gear, which is good. And this is why you need Petrify resistance, because there are cockatrices, elite cockatrices at that, and they are really annoying. But you can smite them with light-based or lightning-based attacks, so that is always good. However, Petro Breath is still there, and you need to defend against this. So that is what we've done. Also, last words are pretty good. Always good to have that. But nicely, if you blind them, then they're kind of completely useless. If you see a very large group of them, then this is why I have the Azure Dragon Circle, so that I can basically go ahead and just immunize stuff here. Yeah, you see, this is really not a very good area heal than this formation. I hoped this formation was a bit better for area healing, but I guess it's not. This is the sort of formation Sun I would do best in, actually. Phoenix Resurrection is pretty good for stuff that way. It's not like a super amazing heal, but it does do its job. And yeah, Royal Flare is pretty good. Royal Flare has a really, really fast cast speed. I have no idea why, but Patchouli just rockets those things out. It's quite funny, actually, really, considering how cumbersome she is otherwise. Hello, Yukari. All by your lonesome today? Well, let me just smack you in the face 2 times. Yes. That's what we do. So yeah, take out the Yukari pretty easily, as it is just a single Yukari by itself. We've dealt with these enemies before, we know what they are like. Great Confusion can still be inflicted despite having resistance gear, so do be aware of that. You may need to change your battle plans midway through because of stuff like that. Also, there's a box here with an Earth Crystal. And if we trigger this, then that lowers the gate which was blocking us before with Team A. So we can go up that way now, that'll be our next progression point. And yeah, we fought these guys before, so I'm pretty sure they have gear which I want, but I'll look up all the enemy stuff when we're done, because otherwise this is just going to take way too freaking long. I just wanted to check down here, you know, being paranoid of everything because I forget where the shard is, if just in case the Orikaku shard was there. No! Also, the goat can boost physical attack. How did Patchouli survive that? Oh god, I seriously can't run from this. Oh, do not do this to me. Great. I'm so dead. Because Petrify is there, and I can't run still, seriously. Wow. That just happened. So yeah, welcome to this stage.